Well, anxiety is the rule tonight in the Central African Republic as residents brace for a possible rebel advance on the capital city of Bangui.
Well, young men describing themselves as patriots are manning checkpoints where they stop vehicles and question occupants in a sight for rebel fighters. A strict dusk-to-dawn curfew remains in place in Bangui. Fighters for a coalition of 3 rebel groups known as Seleka are holding positions outside the city. The rebels launched an offensive in the north on December 10th and have since captured about a third of the country, including several major cities. Dozens of troops from the neighboring Republic of Congo began arriving in Bangui late Monday as part of an effort to increase the presence of a multinational regional military force. The president has offered to form a unity government with Seleka, but the rebels say they don't trust Mr. Bozize after he failed to honor a previous agreement. Well, West Africa correspondent Anne Luke is in the Central African Republic. She joins us now by phone. Welcome, Anne.
Hi.
Yes, now we hear the rebels have agreed to this call to talks. How has that changed the dynamics there in Bangui?
Well, the rebels have kind of once again agreed to go to talks, have agreed to halt talks. They've made this promise a few times in the past week. What's different this time is that now between the government troops and the rebels the rebels are about 180 kilometers from the capital in Sibut. So between these two forces and between the rebels and the capital are now about 500 Central African regional troops that are there to kind of stop hostilities between the two sides. Mm-hmm. Today, the general of that force, Jean-Felix Akaga, he warned the rebels and the government that any future hostilities would not be tolerated and that this line was the line that they could not break, this line where the Central African regional troops have amassed outside the capital, about 75 kilometers outside in the town of Zamara.
Yes.
So he said that any attempt to attack that line, any attempt to try and advance towards Zamara would be considered a declaration of war against the 10 member states of the Economic Community of Central African States.
Yes, and now that actually this line has literally been drawn, how are the rebels taking this? Are they taking it seriously to the extent that they're kind of appearing not to make any advancement?
That's what the head of the FOMAC force told us today, is that the situation, he said, is calm, is status quo. No one's moving in either direction. You know, the whole idea of this is to just kind of stop things and get everyone to move, to begin to move towards talks in Libreville that are now planned for January 10th.
Yes. Now, I've also had a few sentiments, especially from Muslims in Bangui, who are saying they probably being victimized because one of the groups is a kind of Muslim-leaning. How deep or how serious is the religious dimension in this conflict?
The religious dynamic, Muslims are typically from the north, which is also kind of the home turf of the rebellion. And so we did hear reports the night before last of young people setting up a roadblock and stopping a Muslim man and beating him to death. We heard reports of that. Keep in mind, too, that these young patriots, these young groups that are kind of pro-government, anti-rebels, have been mounting these barricades for the past few days to check papers. There are lots of rumors that rebels are trying to infiltrate the city or that rebels will attack the city. So it's just an overall climate of tension. Mm-hmm.
I mean,
that's how I describe it.
Very briefly, and you can give us a sense of how people, are kind of coping with the situation there. But does it look like the rebels don't have a lot of support in Bangui itself?
It's hard to tell. Most people I talked to tell me, they've had enough of rebellion. Keep in mind, this has been going on for years now, this kind of flaring up, flaring down. So they've had enough. They want something to be done about it. And many people do say that they're give negotiations a chance. That especially since President Francois Bozize came out a few days ago and said,
yep,
he's willing to go to talks unconditionally. They said, well, the rebels, they should just go to talks as well.
Okay, Anne, thank you very much. That's our Anne Luke on assignment in the Central African Republic. Thank you.